guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing very nice and I'm sending a lot of hugs and positivity to all of you. Hi, if you're new, welcome to the channel. I really hope you enjoy the content. If you do, please do consider subscribing. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 24 books that I must have to really want to read in 2024. I'm going to be talking about all of my reading goals for 2024 and I'm going to show you my reading journal, how I am making it, and the entire sort of like a tour of the reading journal. I am making all of these things a little late because I am starting my reading journey a little bit late. I am reading a few books here and there, but I think I have started the year with a little bit of a reading slump, which is just sad, but it's okay because now that I'm making this video, I'm going to be making my reading journals, things like that, and I've ordered a few new books. I feel like I'll get out of it. Hopefully this video will be amazing for you guys and you can get some inspiration for your own reading journal, your own TBR, and all of us just have an amazing reading year and fun. First up, let's talk about the 24 books that I want to read in 2024. Now, I don't usually have only 24 books because I'm not going to read only 24 books in the whole year, obviously. But I do want to shrink my physical TBR, and there are some anticipated releases that are going to happen in 2024, or there are also some books that I want to reread this year. So I have made separate videos for them. I'll link it in the description. You can check it out. Apart from all of those, these are the 24 books that I aspire to read this year. And the first book is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I got this book so excitedly last year, but then as soon as I got it and I saw the way it looks, and I've seen some reviews, and my best friend Jane also is reading it or has already read it, everybody is just telling me that you really need to be in a certain space to read that book because it sometimes reads like a textbook, but that does not mean that it's not like an amazing book. I did read the prologue, I read the first chapter, and it was so good, but it just seems so intense. I am desperate to read that book. That's why I spent so much money on it to get that book. I did so much to actually get the hardcover of that book, so I want to make sure that I read it in 2024. Next is the entire Throne of Glass series, which is I think 8 books in total. I love Sarah J Maas's writing style so much, so I went through like a rabbit hole of what to read next by her, and everybody recommends that you read the Throne of Glass series next. When I'm going to finish the ACOTAR series, I am gifting myself Assassin's Blade because I'm going to read that first and see if it is something that I really want to put myself into, like, because it's 8 books. It's a lot. I think the last book is 980 pages. It's a lot of pages to read. So I will read one book to see if I really want to get into it or not, but I'm hoping that I will want to, and so it is on my TBR list. Next up is Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies, which is another book that I bought very excitedly at a very high price. I was like, who cares, I really want it, I'm just gonna get it, and I've not read it, again with the fear that I won't understand what it is talking about, or it is just so intense that I am not in the right space for it, because this year I'm going to be reading more books like that, which you will see when I talk about my reading goals. I have decided to read it. Next up is the Inheritance Games trilogy. I think one more book is coming out this year and one book came last year, so there are total 5 books in it, but I am only putting the 3 books in on my TBR for 2024 because if I like it, then I will go ahead and read the other 2 books. 2 reasons for this is, one, it's supposed to be a very fast-paced, fun, a book like Knives Out movie, things like that, and it was already on my 2023 TBR, but I was not able to get to it, so I really want to read it this year. And secondly, so many of you guys have commented on various videos of TBRs and other videos also that it is something that I need to read. So if you guys want it, I'm gonna read it. Next is the Truly Devious series, which yet again, one of the reasons is because so many of you people have commented on various videos saying that it is something that I should read, and secondly, it was on my 2023 TBR and I really want to read it because it is a YA mystery thriller series, and I realize I've not read a lot of YA mystery thrillers in 2023 or even before that, so this year I want to read more of that. Next up we have Time Traveler's Wife. I actually started reading it for a 24-hour readathon that I was doing, the cozy 24-hour readathon that I was doing last year. I'll link it in the description if you want to check it out. It was very confusing. I read like 50 pages. Even then it was quite confusing. So then I tried to read the description of the book, the blurb and things like that, and it's still confusing. confusing. So I feel like it's going to take me time to read that book and understand what is going on. If any of you guys have read that book, and if you can explain a little bit without giving any spoilers, please, no spoilers, how the time travel is working and things like that, I would appreciate it, and maybe I'll just pick it up quicker. Next is at least one Elif Shafak book. I have Island of the Missing Trees and Architect's Apprentice, and there's another book which is, I think, I don't remember, something Istanbul, that I'm going to buy for myself. So there are so many Elif Shafak books that I have not read, and one book by her, 40 Rules of Love, is one of my most favorite books ever, but I read it in, I think, 2020. So it's been so long, like literally so long since I've read anything by her. I don't know why. And so this year, out of all of these 4 or 5 books, I at least want to read one book by her. Honorary mention to 2 of Donna Tartt books that I'm going to try and read, though I'm not like putting it on my list because I don't know if I'll be able to read it. We have The Secret History and The Goldfinch. I really want to read these books so desperately, but I have no idea when I'll be in the mood for them. So I'm just waiting, and if I am in the mood for it at any point in time, I'm gonna pick it up and read it. Now that we are done with the TBR, let's move on to the reading journal. I think the creation of my reading journal will single-handedly take me out of a reading slump. Last year, out of nowhere, completely randomly, I decided to make a reading journal, and I had this plain black notebook that I ordered from Blinkit because it was the quickest that I can get a plain notebook, and I just wrote stuff on it. That is it. I recorded the number of books that I have read. I put my TBR in it, and every month I would only write the books I've read this month and the books that I bought this month. It turned out to be such a fulfilling experience even doing that now I have decided to go deep into it and have like the best reading journal ever. I watched so many videos throughout 2023. I watched so many people how they are keeping their reading journal. I have done a lot of research, and then now I have come down to a point where I finally know exactly what I want to do with my reading journal. I am not saying that I will not change mid-year or something, okay? I am very moody. Maybe like down the line I'll just be like, oh okay, let me just do something completely different. For now, this is exactly what I'm gonna do. Actually, before I even get into that, let me just tell you what a reading journal is in case you don't know what it is and you're completely new to it. A reading journal is where you keep a record of everything that you are reading, how you feel about the book, the books that you have bought. Basically, you just get a creative space to have fun with your reading. It is not a necessity at all, and it is not like the other journaling that you do. So I do gratitude journaling and even like writing my feelings down, things like that, and that is why I used to do journaling majorly. But reading journal is to have fun. Reading journal is to be creative, and if you don't want to be creative and all, reading journal is a place where you keep a log of just things you do. And whenever I get a reading journal, think that years from now, when somebody will be like, oh, this is all of Anchal's stuff, they will get my reading journals and they will see all of the things that I did that year related to reading. So I am so excited. I do highly recommend a reading journal. I started it last year, but I was not recommending it last year because I just wanted to see what the experience is like. This year, after using it for 1 year, I highly recommend a reading journal. If you're starting out, don't overwhelm yourself, and if you're already deep into it, I hope you get some new prompts from my reading journal. Apart from all of that, I'm just so excited to show it to you guys because I got the journal and I did some of the basics last year itself, like in December. So I'm literally dying since December to show you this and set up my entire reading journal. Now, this is the reading journal that I got. This is a notebook that I got from Supple Room. I will link it in the description if you want to check it out, and it has a customization. So it has Anchal Rani written over there, and I made it more personal with a keychain that says A, and I love roses a lot, so I think it's really pretty and cute, and I love how personal it is. On the inside, it is completely plain. Last year I used a rule notebook, and as amazing as it was, if I want to be artistic with it, I was not able to be because the lines would come in the way. Let's talk about all of the spreads that I want in the notebook. I have a rough list. So it starts with obviously the intro page, which is like my name and that it's a reading journal. Next, I'm going to have books I read in 2024. I had this spread last year also, but it was towards the end of the notebook. This year I want to put it at the beginning of the notebook. I put it in the end last year, and you can also do it, of course, because I did not know how many books I'm going to read. So I just had to continue on making tables and tables. This year I have a fair idea of my reading speed, and because I read like 130 books last year, I know where I can go. So I sort of like know my limits, and so I decided to put it in the front itself. If you're just starting out and you don't know how many books you can read, you have no idea, I would suggest that you put it at the back of the notebook and then, you know, move forward that way. Am I being clear? When you put it at the back of the notebook, you're going on the other side. Reason you're putting it at the back is so that you can go backwards and you have plenty of pages to go. Then I'm also going to log all of the books that I got this year, and I think that this I'm going to put towards the back of the notebook because I don't know how many books I'm going to get. I can't even imagine because I'm crazy. Nobody knows what I will do. So then I'm going to make a page of my TBR for 2024, but I'm actually going to make a drawing. I'm going to make books and I'm going to put the name in it, and as I read the books on my TBR, I'm going to fill it in. Then we have rereads for 2024, my entire physical TBR, and my anticipated releases for 2024. For that, I have some printouts over here. I have my physical TBR. Total number of books I have on my physical TBR are 140. I said I think 125 or 127 when I made the video, but I did not take into account that I have some books that I got. Like there were some new books that I did not put on my shelf yet, but it was on my physical TBR in 2024, and so it turned out to be 140. And we have rereads. So I'm going to stick it on the top and I'm going to handwrite it. I actually also was going to get the printout of all of the books because it's very hard writing 140 names in a notebook like with your hand. I was going to cut each name and then stick it separately because I don't want like an A4 sheet stuck to my journal, and I just thought that cutting it and sticking it individually is just way harder than actually writing 140 books. So it's okay if it takes time. I'm just gonna handwrite it, and I think it'll also look way prettier that way. It'll just look way more personal. And then we have the new releases. Because the new releases were so few, even though I actually wanted to do it with my physical TBR too, but I'm not gonna print out 140 books because my books anticipated releases were so few. I got a printout of all of the books on that list. So I'm gonna stick the new releases and I'm gonna stick all of these pictures. Are you seeing? Do you know how pretty it will look? Next, I'm going to try. This one is actually a try. Okay, I don't know if it'll actually happen, but I'm going to try and make sort of like a library, draw a library and put a lot of books in it. As I finish reading a book, I want to color it in. So for example, if I put 100 books in it, when I finish 1, 2, 3, I color it in, and hopefully by the end of the year, I have read 100 books and it will be all colored in, the entire thing. And you will see it more once I already make it. Then I'm gonna make a page with all of my reading goals because I want to keep that in my mind, because last year also I had some reading goals which was to read slow and things like that, but I got lost midway itself. Like after July, in July I just get messed up in my head. So after July I usually lose all my goals. Anyways, the point is that this year, after July or at any point of the year, if I feel like I'm losing my goals, I need a page to remind me that these are my goals. So I'm gonna have a reading goals page. Then I'm gonna make a yearly bar graph. So I'm gonna write all of the months on the bottom and the number of books that I have read that month. I'm going to draw a bar graph of how many books I read that month. I just think it's cute and it's funny. I don't need it, but I just think it's cute and it's funny. And these are going to be my yearly spreads, right? And then we move on to my monthly spreads. I already printed out January in pink because this is how I'm feeling actually this month. In the next page, I'm gonna print out my TBR for January. Now I have no TBR for January, so it won't be there this month. It will be there Feb onwards because I have decided to make a TBR out of my physical TBR every month so that I'm able to read as many books as possible from my physical TBR. Then I will have books that I have read in January, which I will keep filling out as I read the books. Then the books I got in January. Then as I start a book, each one page will be dedicated to that book, because I make wrap-up videos or reviews, things like that. It is just easier for me to talk on camera and remember everything that I'm reading or everything I am feeling if I have it written down. Because sometimes when the book is amazing and all, and it's just intensely amazing, like crazily amazing, I will remember how I felt when I read that book and the characters and things like that. But sometimes when the book is mid or whatever for me, but I do think it's a good book, I tend to forget things about the book. So it'll be easier for me funny if I make notes. Apart from that, if I ever read a series, I'm gonna make series spread. I have no idea what that will include. So now I'm thinking that I'll give my reading journal tour every month to you guys when I make the monthly wrap up, but I'm not sure about it. Do you guys want to see it? Do you guys not want to see it? If you want to see it, put in the comments. In the end, we'll have the January wrap up, or like the monthly wrap up page, where I'll write the number of books that I have read, the number of how many star books, so number of 3-star books, number of 4-star books, number of 5-star books, my top reads for the month, and the format in which I read a book the most. So did I read majorly physical books? Did I read majorly audiobooks? Did I read majorly ebooks? And apart from that, I think I will add more. So like how many books I read from my physical TBR, how many books I read from my 2024 TBR, but I'm not sure about it, so I'm not going to talk about it right now. Now that you guys know everything that I'm going to put in, this is the notebook and this is the list of spreads that I'm gonna make. I'm gonna sit and start making it. I think it will take me some time. I really tried to shoot the process, but the first page itself took me 2 hours, so I didn't. The first page, I tore some pages from a very old book and made the spread. Next, the books that I have read that I will read in 2024, I just made the edges and filled it in with highlighters to create sort of like a contrast, and I made 105 books list because that's how much I think I'll read. I left the next 2 pages blank because I was very scared to draw the drawings that I have to draw, because I was like, what if I ruin it and I can't redo it again. Next is my physical TBR, which I made like a floating space because I just want to highlight it, and made the key also finished DNF'd. I think it looks so pretty. Then we have the rereads of 2024, made a key for that, my reading goals. The new releases page looks so good, but there was very less space for the last 2 books, so it looks a little bit ruined, but I don't care. Made the release date, which I have to fill in, and if I read it or not. Next, I made this bar graph. There's also a key, so the x-axis is the month. X-axis is the month, y-axis is the number of books that I have read, and I'll make a bar every month. I think it'll look really cool at the end of the year. And that's it. I did leave 1 page blank and I want to fill it with something, but I have no idea what. So if you have an idea, comment. And that's it. Moving on to my reading goals for 2024. Okay, you guys, I'm just now realizing that I think I have 22 books on my TBR rating. 22. It's 22 because I did not count the 2 books in Inheritance Games. So I think I did put Inheritance Games on my TBR. I will probably read the other 2 books too. Or maybe not. Maybe we can actually shift the Donna Tartt books to this list. Yeah, let's remove the 2 books from Inheritance Games and put the Donna Tartt books on my 2024 TBR. That is the final list. Moving on to my reading goals for 2024, which I am so excited about because it is going to help me so much in reading genuinely what I want to read. 2023, I did read a lot of books, and I feel like I also experimented with a lot of genres. For example, romance in any form, like contemporary, literary, or rom-coms. I did not read that at all in 2022. I just read towards the end of 2022, and I read so much of that in 2023. I have never read fantasy, but I read so much fantasy in 2023. I feel like I just experimented a lot, and a lot of it turned out to be amazing. But after all of that experimentation in 2024, I know exactly what I want to read. That does not mean that I will not experiment in 2024. I am very, very focused and very clear about what I want to read. First off, we have the number of books that I want to read, and I don't put specific number goal for myself that this is how many books I want to read in a year, because I'm just not that kind of a person. This is so much better. I was sitting on my knee to get like the perfect shot for the camera, but it was hurting so much. Take 2. I have not decided on the number of books that I'm going to read. I did not decide that last year either. I have never decided that because I'm just not that kind of a person. Not because I don't like it, because trust me, I love watching videos where people set their TBR and they set their Goodreads goal. Then it's all so exciting. I love to make lists and I love to scratch things off. It's all so exciting. I wish I could do that, but I'm also the kind of person that when I have a goal for something, I will not see it as something that I'm doing for myself. I'll see it as work. And reading is the one thing in my life that I don't see as work, even though it's part of my job. Shooting, editing, all of the other parts of my job is work to me. Mails, talking to people, it's all work. But when it comes to reading, it is not work to me. And if I put a number, I am going to tire myself out to read that number, even if it is a very low number. Number 2, I have figured out one of the major motivation as to why I read books. Now I know that I majorly read to feel things. I majorly read to experience other people's lives without talking to them or without getting out of even my bed. I read to be happy, I read to be sad, I read to feel intense emotions, even if it is entertainment. So if I'm reading rom-coms, humorous books, I basically love to immerse myself into stories and into characters and feel their emotions. So I'm going to be targeting more such books this year, which is why I have put books like Babel, I have put books like the Tonatart books on my list, or Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies. These books serve that purpose. Literary fiction as a genre serves that purpose because it captures the essence, the emotions of the characters or anything that is going on in that time. Obviously, I'll still be reading books for the Worth the Hype series if it is too popular to read it, and let you guys know if it is worth the hype or not. And so we have Truly Devious, Inheritance Games, books like that too. And apart from that, the major genres I'm going to focus on is fantasy, romance, fantasy in general. But if I get a fantasy romance, I'm not going to skip on it because I discovered fantasy and fantasy romance in 2023, and I cannot believe that I never read fantasy books earlier. I'm gonna read every single series, like fantasy series, because I just can't wait to get to all of them. I have realized that authors make worlds from scratch. They make all of these characters from scratch, and you get to imagine all of those things that you will never ever find in your real life, that do not exist in your real life, in your mind, and you get to feel them and you get to experience them like it is real. Very different from each other. On one hand, I want to read literary fiction, which is as real as it gets, with characters and things that happen out in the world. But on the other hand, I want to read fantasy, and I really want to experience all of the worlds and characters that these authors build. Because even if it is not true, first of all, I think fantasy does reflect on a lot of things that are going on in the real world, just in a different way. And secondly, it still gives you a lot of emotions to feel, and that is what I want. And following up, I'm going to read more series because there are many books, there are so many pages, it is so easy to get attached to the characters, and it is so easy to immerse yourself and get that deep experience with series. Now the thing is that I try not to read a series if it is not completed. I feel like in 2024 there are so many series that I can start and finish. The Throne of Glass series, the Crescent City series, the Shatter Me series, Inheritance Game series, Truly Devious series, the Atlas 6 series by Oliver Blake. I don't know if this will be my goal next year or not, if I will read a lot of series next year too, because what if like there are a lot of new series starting next year. But for this year, I feel like I'm in that prime spot where a lot of series have been completed and I get to just eat them up. The Percy Jackson series, the Mistborn series, so many series, the Poppy Ward trilogy, the Ramchandra series, so many series that I can read. And with that, we come towards the end of my reading goals, my TBR, my reading journal, and this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it and you got some inspiration for yourself, and I really hope you have an amazing 2024 reading year. I'll see you guys again very soon.